Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for September 9th, 2025. And on today's episode, we will be going over what happened yesterday on on Monday Night Football, the game yesterday, the Bears versus the Vikings, recapping everything that went on during that game. I also want to talk about some Steelers as well and what happened with their game and the New York Jets. Well, not talking about the New York Jets, but just talking about the Steelers and kind of going to take a little bit of a victory lap there because I'll let you guys know why I'm taking a victory lap on that one. Trying to pull up the stats right now for the game, but that's besides the point. Please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate it. And make sure to check out the other Kretschman media shows, the Mic Drop, the Stadium Pulse, Dub's Room, and the Space Cowboy Show. Make sure to go check them out. They're on the homepage. I would greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. So I want to start off by talking about the Minnesota Vikings and what I think of them going forward. I believe the Minnesota Vikings are the best team in the NFC North. I believe that they have a legitimate chance to win the NFC this upcoming year. I don't believe they're the best team in the NFC at the current moment. I think they could absolutely get there. Depending on how good J.J. McCarthy plays this season, or really how he plays in the postseason as well, but how J.J. McCarthy plays is going to be very much dependent on my opinion of the Minnesota Vikings. I had the Los Angeles Rams winning the NFC going into the season, right? And after week one, my opinion has changed just a little bit because I love what I saw from Dallas on Thursday against Philly. I didn't love what I saw from LA against the Texans on Sunday, but I love what I saw in the second half here with the Minnesota Vikings and how well J.J. McCarthy played in the second half. Look, Kevin O'Connell, he's in the stage with J.J. McCarthy where he's just figuring him out, right? He's trying to figure out what he needs to do with J.J. McCarthy to turn him into the quarterback that he needs to become, right? And when you saw the first half yesterday and J.J. McCarthy struggling there, I think Kevin O'Connell switched some things up in the second half, and that made J.J. McCarthy so much better. What I saw, what he did on the ground, I mean, you talk about 2 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown, 14-yard run on one of them. I mean, I think that they're going to use his legs a little more. 13 for 20, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. It wasn't great over the air, especially to start the game, but he really started to put it together. And this is just his first NFL start, right? He's essentially a rookie. If I'm not mistaken, I think J.J. McCarthy, he might be like 21 years old. I'm sorry, let me double check that. He is 22 years old. So he's a 22-year-old starting quarterback. So he's essentially a rookie at this point. And what I saw from him, if that was a real rookie, if that was Cam Ward that did that yesterday, I think people would have a different perspective on that. If what J.J. McCarthy did yesterday, if that was Cam Ward, or if that was, let's just say, Shedeur Sanders with the Cleveland Browns, we would be talking a lot differently. So we need to give J.J. McCarthy the respect he deserves after that performance. He struggled in the first half because it was his first time as a starter. And then come the second half, he put his team on his back and he made winning plays. And they ended up coming back because of J.J. McCarthy. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. And if he's as good as he can be, which is, maybe top 15, fringe top 10 quarterback this season, yeah, the Vikings could get to the Super Bowl. There's no doubt in my mind about that. This team last year won 14 games, and they had Sam Darnold as their quarterback, who, to give respect to Sam Darnold, he did have a really good year last year with the Minnesota Vikings. But because they moved on from Sam Darnold, they created that cap room, they were able to build out the rest of their roster because they have a quarterback on a rookie contract. That's the benefit you get there. So if you can get play similar to what you got from Sam Darnold last year, and you have a quarterback on a rookie contract that allowed you to go out and add more talent to your football team, then yeah, the Vikings can be better than they were last year. I mean, they're already off to a good start on the road going into Chicago. They were down 17-6, and they ended up coming back and winning this game. I thought it was an impressive performance. Very impressive performance by the Minnesota Vikings. One thing I do worry about is I worry about what they can do on the ground. Like Jordan Mason yesterday, 15 for 68, 4.5 apiece. That's nice. Like Aaron Jones, 8 for 23, 2.9 apiece. I just wonder if they can create a consistent run game that takes pressure off JJ McCarthy and this passing attack. Sorry about that. I had to clear my nose there. When I look at their receiving game, obviously they have Justin Jefferson. They have Jalen Nailor. Jordan Addison, I didn't play in this game. I believe he's on a suspension right now. Let me just double check that. Sorry about that. Yeah, he is suspended. So, like what we saw from the Minnesota Vikings, understand they're going to get better. They're going to get better. Like they went into Chicago, put up 27 on Chicago in JJ McCarthy's first game as a starting quarterback, and Jordan Addison wasn't even playing. And when I look at this receiver core, you have Jefferson, Addison, Nailor, TJ Hawkinson. Their offensive line's improved. This offense can be very, very good this season. And we already know what their defense can do. This team is going to be an absolute train to deal with. And because of that, I think they stand a really good chance to win the NFC this year. Especially what I saw from Philly the other day. I think outside of the quarterback, you can make a legitimate case that the Minnesota Vikings are, outside of the quarterback, the best team in the NFC. Right? Like that's how talented their roster is. Now, one thing because I do want to recap this game a little bit, right? This game was a tale of two halves for the Vikings. They struggled in the first half. They came back in the second half. And when you looked at what Chicago was doing, I think Minnesota was trying to figure out what Chicago was doing, right? Because obviously they do have a new offensive coordinator play caller. And yes, when you look at Ben Johnson and his history with Jared Goff, you could go back and watch his tape and see some of the tendencies that he has. And obviously they've game planned against Ben Johnson in the past, but it's not the same, right? Because they have a new quarterback. They have different personnel than they had in Chicago. It's going to look different. So that's why when I look at this game as a whole, I think that in the first half, Minnesota was thrown off a little bit by what Chicago was doing. Then they figured it out and they started to play some really good defense. But if you're Chicago and you saw what Caleb Williams did yesterday, you got to be encouraged. He did some good things. Like it wasn't all negatives for Chicago. They did have a lead in this game. But ultimately, they got to do a little better on the ground as well. I mean, 4.6 yards per attempt, that's great. But when you take into account that Caleb Williams had 6 carries for 58 yards, 9.7 a pop, and then you compare that to DeAndre Swift, 17 carries for 53 yards, 3.1 a pop, it kind of brings it down a little bit. So, like when you look at this Chicago team, we'll get into Chicago in a second. I think you saw that they're not as good as Minnesota. They're not where Minnesota is at right now. And that's okay. They're in a rebuilding phase, Chicago. Seems like they've been in a rebuilding phase for the past 5-6 years. Get it. Understand that. The jokes are there. I'm not a Bears fan. It doesn't offend me. But I think that the Bears are heading in the right direction. And that's what we're going to talk about. I do want to talk about the Bears here. If you're a Bears fan, I don't think that this was all for nothing. I don't believe this game was all for nothing. I understand it hurts. You were up 17-6. You were in control of the game, and Minnesota came back and won this game. I got it. I don't think that the Bears are going to be that good of a team this year. I had them as 7 wins going into the season. Now I feel a little better than them about them. They might be 8-9 wins, right? And if they win 9 wins, if they get 9 wins this year, as a Bears fan, you have to love that because that means your quarterback was probably playing very good football, and it looks like you probably have a legitimate head coach. Those are the two things coming out of this season for the Bears, if you're a Bears fan, that you got to worry about. If the two answers you get coming out of this season is that you have a very good quarterback and a very good head coach, You feel great about that. I think when you look at the Bears, they're still in a phase where it's like, okay, we're still a year or two away, which is fine because Caleb Williams is only in his second year. You still have him at a cost-controlled contract for the next 2 seasons. You could still add talent around him because you're not paying your quarterback $60 million, right? If you draft well, that's going to be a big thing. Like, I think that there needs to be some things that change with the Bears, especially offensively. I don't love their receiver room. DJ Moore, I'm not a big DJ Moore fan, even though he's on my fantasy team. I'm not a huge Romo Dunze fan. I think that they need to go get a legitimate dude in that room. I don't think they have that. Running back, I don't love that position. They added some guys on the offensive line, but I think they're a little bit older. Like Joe Thuney, good player, bit older. So, like, when I look at this team as a whole, I think they're probably a year or two away from actually contending, which is fine. The answers that this team needs to get are quarterback, how does he play? Head coach, how does he do coaching this team? And if those answers get questioned positively, as a Bears fan, you got to feel great about that. I know it's been a lot of suffering if you're a Bears fan, and I feel for you guys. I'm on your side here. I like Caleb Williams. I want Caleb Williams to do very well. As a matter of fact, I made it a point to say that I didn't care about these training camp videos that were coming out about Caleb Williams. He's a young quarterback who's still developing. And what I saw on Monday night, it's encouraging. It's a step in the right direction. The ball was coming out of his hands quicker. You saw that he did a really good job at the beginning of the game getting completions, right? I think he was like 10 for 10 to start the game. So you love seeing that, right? Obviously, some things have been instilled in him by Ben Johnson. When you look at the way he wasn't hanging on to the ball forever and making bad decisions, that's a great thing. When the ball needed to come out, the ball came out. He held the ball sometimes until the very last moment to where, okay, I can get this ball off. It's not, hey, let me try and run backwards and run, 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage to make a throw that I shouldn't even be attempting because it's the NFL and these are grown men and they're very good at what they do. But like I said, yesterday, there was encouraging signs from Caleb Williams. And as a Bears fan, I know the loss hurts. I know it sucks. I know you're very upset that they lost this game. But Caleb Williams is not going to play those type of defenses every week. As a matter of fact, he's not. He's only going to play them one more time a year because the Minnesota Vikings have one of the best defenses in football. So for the Bears to go in there and I think look as good as they did offensively, even though in the second half they did begin to stall a little bit, I think that there are positive things coming out of this game if you're a Bears fan. This was not all for nothing. And Caleb Williams playing as well as he did, even though it wasn't like a masterpiece game, it was just one of those games where I look at it and say, he's heading in the right direction. Now let's see if he can build on that. Now let's see if, what Ben Johnson has been teaching him is going to continue to work. When I look at their next few games, they have the Lions. I think they'll be able to move the ball on that defense. Cowboys, I'm still unsure about what their defense is. Commanders, they'll be fine there. Saints, Ravens. I don't think they're playing a defense as good as Minnesota for a few weeks here. So it was upsetting if you're a Bears fan, but not the worst thing in the world. And I did think that Ben Johnson did do some good things with this offense. I think that one thing with the Bears is that when you look at Ben Johnson and his offense, he wants to run the ball. He wants to build play action off his ability to run the ball. And if they're not going to get a consistent run game, that's going to be a big problem for them. That's going to be a big time problem for them. So they're going to need to add. I think they should be in the market for adding a running back because I just look at DeAndre Swift and I just say he's not that good. He's not good enough. And if you're looking to have a dominant running attack, you're going to need to find somebody not named DeAndre Swift to do it. They had 26 attempts yesterday. 17 came from DeAndre Swift. I think that Ben Johnson would want a little more from his run game. But when you're running the ball and it's not effective, then that becomes a big time problem for you. You can't keep, banging your head on the door, trying to make something happen, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And I think Ben Johnson got the information that, hey, we're going to struggle to run the ball here. So we need to throw the ball a little more. Because 35 attempts for Caleb Williams, that's something that surprised me. I thought he would be around that 27 attempt range at max. So seeing that he went for 35 attempts yesterday, that was a bit surprising to me. DJ Moore, 3 receptions for 68 yards. That's nice. Again, I'm not a huge DJ Moore fan. Roma Dunze, 6 receptions for 37 yards. I expected more from him coming out of college. I don't think he's that bona fide number 1 top 10 pick that, he obviously got drafted at. Cole Kmet, a reception for 31 yards. He's a really good tight end. Colston Loveland, 2 receptions for 12 yards. They're going to want to do things out of 12 personnel as well. That's something that I think, fans are going to have to pay attention to. Luther Burden, a reception for -3 yards. You expect a little more there. So when you look at this game as a whole, I just think that the Chicago Bears, there's not much that they need to hang their head about. I get it. Teams hate losing. Fans hate losing. But when you play the Minnesota Vikings, a lot of teams are going to lose to that team. You're just one of the teams that are going to lose to them. So that's the way I look at that. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we do, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure to go check out the other shows on the Kretschman Media Network. I need to take a quick drink. By the way, not a sponsorship there. Just letting everybody know. Because that definitely seemed like a little bit of hey, look at this Celsius energy drink that I'm drinking. No, it's just a drink that I happen to be drinking. So, looking at the slate of games on Sunday, before we get into to what I'm going to say with the Steelers, some of the results that surprised me were the Buccaneers. They won 23-20. I was surprised by how close this game was and how Tampa Bay almost lost this game. I hold Tampa Bay in pretty high regard, and to see what they did offensively that game was a bit alarming. The Bengals, they beat the Browns. Joe Burrow, I think he threw for 113 yards. See, here's the thing, right? Can we just do this thing? I can't believe that I have to bring this up. And people think that I hate Jalen Hurts, and I really don't. I have a lot of respect for him. I just don't believe he's an elite quarterback. That's my thing. But can we stop with this? Well, Joe Burrow threw for 113 passing yards. So, if this was Jalen Hurts, what would have happened? Jalen Hurts throws for 115 passing yards regularly. Joe Burrow has had seasons where he's thrown for over 4,500 yards. He had a season where he threw for over 40 touchdowns. Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, you cannot compare the two as passers. This was an anomaly for Joe Burrow. This is not the norm. Jalen Hurts, he does that regularly. And if Joe Burrow did this normally, then yes, I think that there would be a lot of people criticizing him. But that's not the case. It was week 1. They're trying to get some things together. And the reason why Jalen Hurts gets less grace for throwing for the amount of yards that he threw for on Thursday is because that's something that he normally does. He normally throws for that many yards. He is not a productive passer. It just is what it is. And when I say he's not a productive passer, he's not Baker Mayfield. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar. He's not Prescott. He's not Herbert. He's not these guys. He does it a different way. He's very good at managing the game. He does not care that people say, hey, you only had this many passing yards, which is what I respect about him, because whatever he's doing is working within the structure of that football team. It would probably be a lot different if he played for a different football team. I don't mean to disrespect him, because I have a lot of respect for him. I just don't like that we put him in conversations that he doesn't belong in. The Dolphins, they're an absolute mess. The Raiders, Patriots Patriots, I expected a little more from you. Cardinals, Saints. Cardinals win 20-13. The Giants were an absolute train wreck, 21-6 for the Commanders. I don't want to, let's see, 49ers 17-13 over the Seahawks. I'm not impressed by the 49ers. I don't think that they're a team that we look at and say, man, that's a team who could potentially win the NFC this year. But all right, let's get into my Steelers take. I want to pull up the box score here real quick. The Steelers were very impressive against the New York Jets. I get it defensively. You want to see more from the Steelers. I'm willing to give them a little bit of a pass here just because it is a brand new offense that the Jets were running. Like, it is difficult to prepare for an offense when you have no idea what they're going to do, right? So I give them a little grace there. But when you look at their offense, that was the thing that I was really worried about coming into the season. Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdowns, 244 yards, 8.1 a pop. He took 4 sacks, but he was very efficient. DK Metcalf, I thought he looked very good, like very, very good the other day. Their run game, I'm a little worried about that, but it's Arthur Smith. They're going to find a way to run the ball. And this, I was saying this about the Steelers, where they don't have weapons in the way that you would look at like Dallas or Cincinnati or Philly or one of those teams and say they have weapons. Their weapons are a little different. They have DK Metcalf, right? But they also have the 2 tight ends that they're going to use when they play 12 personnel, which is what Arthur Smith wants to run. The running backs, Jaylen Warren, I'm a big fan of his, even though he didn't have a great game the other day. But overall, I was just very impressed by their offense the other day. And that, to me, if I'm a Steelers fan, I look at that and I say, all right, the defense didn't play well. I'm willing to give the defense the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, they're probably going to get it together. And that's what I assume is going to happen here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense will get it together. They'll be fine. That's the identity of their football team. They've invested a lot of money on that side of the ball. They've invested draft picks on that side of the ball. They'll be fine. They'll be able to play high-level football on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm not really worried from that perspective. But, coming into the season, it was cool to beat up on the Steelers. Everyone was like, not everybody. A lot of people were like, Aaron Rodgers at 42 years old, you think that guy's going to come in and save your franchise? Well, if you get this type of Aaron Rodgers performance, yeah, they can go deep in the playoffs. Absolutely. You talk about 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. And yeah, the protection wasn't great, but at the same time, it's Aaron Rodgers. And if he's playing at this level, the AFC needs to watch out because this team is a talented football team. They have a lot of good players on this football team. Outside of like TJ Watt, they might not have a talent in particular that stands out, but they just are surrounded with a lot of good football players. And those teams can win games late into the season. And when you look at maybe the Chiefs aren't the same team, right? Like maybe they're not the team that we thought they were coming into the season. You're looking for that like 3rd team in the conference. Maybe it's the Steelers. And I get it. Like the Jets, I didn't think very highly of this team going into the season. I thought very highly of their defense, which is why I'm very impressed with what Pittsburgh did offensively, because I hold that Jets defense in very high regard. And it's not like, hey, the Jets defense was on the field because their offense was so damn bad that they just got worn out by the end of the game. That's not what happened at all, because I thought the Jets offense was very efficient this game. So if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm looking at that and I'm saying our offense looks good. And yeah, the defense is a bit concerning here. But overall, I think that this team will be all right. Though their defense will get it together, and I think they'll be able to continue to make things happen on the offensive side of the ball. Steph, did you watch the Steelers game the other day? What do you think about the Steelers?
Steelers, led by their defense. I think Aaron Rodgers, he looks good. I mean, the team, I would say that the team overall looks pretty good. Like I said, led by their defense. Steelers that's they're known for, their defense. And I would say that, yeah, that's, they're going to be formidable. in that division.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's why, like, I didn't count out the Steelers before the season. I actually looked at them and I said, they're going to be a real problem in this conference because it's Aaron Rodgers. And even though he is older, you still got to consider the fact that, hey, if he can put it together, yeah, this team's going to be scary because they get an upgrade at quarterback. I think they were an 11-win team last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they upgrade at quarterback. Like, Russell Wilson is not a good quarterback. I think we saw that the other day for the Giants. He's not good at all. So when you replace a quarterback who's not good at all with a quarterback who could be very good, yeah, you have potential for legitimate success if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in an AFC where it looks like there's two teams that separate themselves above everybody else, if you're the Steelers, you got to like the position you're in. It's tough when you don't have one of those elite quarterbacks like Mahomes and Allen. I don't think the Bengals are good. To be honest with you, I think the Steelers are a better team than the Bengals. So if I'm a Steelers fan, I wouldn't worry about the Bengals that much. But you got to love where you're at in this conference because, maybe you're that third best team in the conference. I mean, obviously, you're probably going to get a wild card spot, but you never wish for injury. But if Lamar misses time, yeah, the Steelers could get that NFC North title. Like, that could happen. Like, you never know what happens in football. Nobody feels sorry for you when you get injured. Like when there's players on your team that gets injured, you shouldn't feel bad for other people, for other teams when their guys get injured. You should absolutely take advantage of that. Again, you don't wish for it, but you take advantage of it when the opportunity comes your way. So that's going to be it for the show. Appreciate you guys for coming out. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I will see you guys later.